All right, so you're aiming for a tech job,
Uh-huh.
maybe even one of those big names everyone talks about,
Right.
like Facebook or
Yeah,
Amazon.
the FAMA companies.
Exactly.
Yeah, those ones.
And you know what that usually means? Whiteboard interviews.
Yep.
It's like they expect you to be some kind of coding performer right there on the spot.
Well, it's more that companies use those whiteboard interviews to figure out how someone thinks.
Oh, okay, so
Not just what they know, you know?
I see.
Like, it's all about problem solving in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, that's a skill you'll need on the job.
Yeah, totally. But it's not always easy to think clearly when you've got someone just staring at you,
Right.
waiting for you to come up with some brilliant solution.
Yeah, that's why it's so important to really understand the fundamentals.
Like what specifically?
Think about things like data structures,
Okay.
algorithms,
Right.
and then there's also something called time and space complexity.
So basically how efficient your code is.
Exactly.
I get it. So let's say you're asked about hash tables.
Okay.
If you can explain how they work, like how they're different from other data structures,
Yeah.
and like when you'd actually use one,
Right.
that shows a deeper understanding.
Yeah,
It goes way beyond just memorizing lines of code.
absolutely. It's like the difference between knowing the ingredients in a cake and then actually understanding the chemistry
Wow, yeah.
of how those ingredients work together
To make the cake.
to create the final product.
I love that analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so speaking of practice, let's talk about how to actually get good at this stuff.
All right.
Because it's not enough to just read about algorithms.
No, you have to apply them.
You need to use them.
That's where platforms like LeetCode and HackerRank come in.
Okay, I've heard of those.
Yeah, they have tons of coding challenges, which are basically designed to mimic real interview questions.
Cool.
And it's important not to just try to solve them as quickly as possible.
Right.
Take your time, really understand the problem, consider different approaches,
Okay.
and analyze like the time and space complexity of your solution.
So it's not about speed. It's about
Yeah, it's about understanding.
understanding.
Exactly.
I like to think of it as training for a marathon,
Yeah,
not a sprint.
I like that.
Consistent practice will help you build up those mental muscles
Definitely.
and improve your problem-solving skills over time.
Exactly.
Now, even if you're like a coding superstar,
Uh-huh.
there's another crucial part of these interviews.
Okay, what's that?
Communication.
Right.
It's not just about writing the code.
Yeah.
You have to explain your thought process to the interviewer.
And do it clearly and concisely.
Imagine you're like a tour guide,
Okay.
leading the interviewer through your thoughts.
That's a good way to think about it.
You need to explain every step,
Like your approach.
your choices, your reasoning.
Yes, all of it.
So practice this.
Oh, okay.
You can do it with friends, family.
Uh-huh.
You could even talk to a rubber duck.
What? It doesn't matter. Just explain your code out loud as if you were in an actual interview.
I see.
This will help you get comfortable with explaining your thoughts.
Yeah.
And also help you to make sure your logic is sound.
Here's a pro tip.
All right, what's that?
Record yourself.
Oh, okay.
I know it might feel a little awkward,
Yeah.
but it's a great way to see how you come across and to find any areas where you could improve.
You'd be surprised at the things you notice when you watch yourself back.
Exactly. Another great way to practice is with a mock interview.
Yeah, those are super helpful.
You can find online platforms and communities that do this.
Right.
Or you could even ask a friend or a mentor in the field to help you simulate the experience. It's basically a dress rehearsal for the main event.
Yeah, I like that.
It gets you comfortable with the format, the
Right.
pressure,
You get used to it.
and it helps you smooth out any rough spots in your approach.
Yeah, and the feedback you get
Oh, yeah,
can be so valuable.
for sure.
It can give you insights into how you're perceived and areas where you can shine.
Now let's talk about common topics that tend to come up in these interviews.
Okay.
Obviously, you can't predict the exact question.
No, but
But you can prepare for the themes.
definitely.
Like one of the big ones is string manipulation.
Yeah.
So that involves working with strings of characters,
Uh-huh.
doing things like reversing a string,
Okay.
finding palindromes,
Right.
or even checking if two strings are anagrams.
So imagine, for example,
Mhm.
you're given a string
Okay.
and you're asked to check if it's a palindrome.
Okay.
One smart way to do this is to use 2 pointers,
I see.
one at the beginning and one at the end of the string.
Right.
And then you move them towards each other,
Okay.
comparing the characters at each step.
And if they all match?
If they all match, it's a palindrome.
That's so cool. It's a simple technique,
Right.
but it can solve a pretty complex problem.
Exactly.
Another common topic is array and matrix operations. So you need to know how to do things like,
Traverse arrays,
yeah,
search for specific elements,
right.
sort them, and do various manipulations.
It's like having this toolbox full of different tools.
I like that.
And each one is designed for a specific task.
Yeah.
The key is understanding which tool to use for each situation.
Exactly.
Then you have trees and graphs.
Right.
These are more complex data structures that are used to represent relationships between different data points.
For example, imagine
Okay.
you're given a tree data structure
Okay.
that represents a family tree.
Okay, got it.
You might be asked to find the closest common ancestor of two family members,
Oh, interesting.
or to go through the tree in a certain order.
Makes sense.
So understanding how to work with these structures efficiently is crucial.
And of course, we can't forget about dynamic programming.
Definitely not.
This technique is all about solving those really complex problems
Right.
by breaking them down into smaller, overlapping sub-problems. It can be tough to grasp at first,
For sure.
but once you get the hang of it,
It's powerful.
it's like you have a secret weapon.
Absolutely.
It's like solving a puzzle
Okay.
by putting together smaller, already solved sections. Dynamic programming helps you avoid doing the same calculations over and over again.
Right.
And you can come up with efficient solutions for problems that would otherwise be really computationally expensive.
Makes sense.
All right, so now that we've gone over some of the common topics, let's move on to best practices for using the whiteboard itself.
All right.
Think of these as like pro tips to maximize your performance
Okay.
and to make a really good impression on the interviewer.
Right.
And remember, the whiteboard's just a tool.
Yeah.
It's like a painter's canvas.
Okay.
Your thought process and communication skills are what really matter.
I like that.
Okay, first up,
Mm-hmm.
don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions.
Definitely.
But before you even touch the marker,
Right.
you need to make sure you fully understand the problem.
Yeah.
Ask about edge cases,
Okay.
constraints,
Ah.
expected output.
Yeah. All of that.
It's so much better to take a few minutes up front
I agree.
to clarify the problem
Right.
than to spend valuable time solving the wrong problem altogether.
Or just their shape point.
Exactly.
So as you start working on the solution,
Okay.
talk through your thought process
Oh, yeah.
out loud.
Like, I'm thinking this and that.
Exactly. Explain your reasoning, your choices,
Yeah.
any trade-offs you're considering.
So it's like you're inviting the interviewer into your mind,
That's a great way to put it.
showing them how you break things down and how you arrive at a solution.
And even if you run into a roadblock,
Okay.
don't just shut down.
Right.
Keep talking.
Okay.
Explain what you're thinking, what approaches you've considered, and why they might not be working.
So it's about showcasing your problem-solving process, even if you don't have an instant answer.
Exactly. And who knows? The interviewer might actually give you a helpful nudge in the right direction.
Oh, that's a good point.
Oh.
Okay, so once you have a plan, start writing your code on the whiteboard.
Right.
And this is where clean code becomes super
It
important.
makes a difference.
Even though it's just a whiteboard,
Yeah.
aim for readability.
Mm-hmm.
Good structure.
It matters.
Use meaningful variable names.
Right.
Consistent indentation. Keep it clean.
Clear comments where they're needed.
It shows the interviewer you care about craftsmanship, even when you're under pressure.
It's like the difference between a chaotic workshop and a really well-organized one.
Totally.
Absolutely. And don't forget to test your solution.
For sure.
Walk through some test cases,
Yeah.
including those edge cases,
Right.
to make sure everything is working the way it should.
This shows the interviewer you pay attention to detail
Yeah.
and that you want to write reliable code.
And finally, be open to feedback.
That's huge.
The interviewer might have some suggestions.
Or point out areas where you could improve.
It's all part of the process.
See this as a chance to learn,
Yeah.
not as criticism.
Absolutely.
Because even the most experienced coders can always learn something new.
That's the truth.
Always room for improvement.
Definitely.
All right, so let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And when we come back, we'll dive into some of the less technical, but equally important aspects of acing those whiteboard interviews.
Sounds good. Okay, so we've covered some pretty important technical stuff.
Yeah, like data structures, clean code, all that.
But there's another side to these whiteboard interviews.
Okay.
It's less about the code itself and more about you.
Okay, what do you mean?
How you present yourself.
Huh.
How you handle the pressure. How
Yeah.
you connect with the person across from you.
It's like the difference between knowing the notes on a piano
Right.
and actually performing a piece of music.
Right.
You need the technical skills,
Uh-huh.
but you also need the artistry, that ability to convey emotion and connect with your audience.
And in this case, your audience is the interviewer.
I get it. Okay, so let's talk about those soft skills.
Right.
The ones that can really help you stand out.
First up, confidence.
It can be hard to feel confident when you're put on the spot like that.
I know.
But projecting that I got this vibe
Mm.
can make a huge difference.
Confidence often comes from preparation.
Right.
The more you practice,
Uh-huh.
the more comfortable you become with the types of problems and the strategies for solving them.
So that familiarity helps you approach the whiteboard
Yeah,
with more calmness and control.
exactly. Even if you don't immediately know the solution.
It's like navigating a city you know well
Okay.
versus getting lost in a foreign country.
Right.
One scenario, you feel confident and at ease. In the other, you're stressed and unsure.
And confidence isn't just about knowing the material.
Oh, so there's more to it.
It's also about believing in yourself.
What if you're feeling that imposter syndrome creeping in?
You know that little voice that says you're not good enough?
Yeah.
That you don't belong there?
That's a tough one.
Well, remember that you wouldn't be there if you hadn't already impressed someone
Oh, right.
with your skills and experience.
You're right.
Focus on your strengths, your accomplishments.
Mm.
Remind yourself why you love coding in the first place.
Sometimes it helps to shift your perspective.
Oh, how so?
Instead of seeing the interview as a test, you might fail. Think of it as a chance to share your knowledge
Okay.
and your passion with someone who's actually interested.
No, even with all the preparation in the world,
Yeah.
nerves can still get the better of us.
Oh, for sure.
The sweaty palms, the racing heart,
Yeah.
the feeling like you've got butterflies doing the tango in your stomach.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well. So how do we manage those nerves?
Preparation definitely helps.
Okay.
Those mock interviews are great for getting used to performing under pressure.
Like rehearsing for a play.
Exactly. The more you practice on stage,
Yeah.
the less nervous you'll feel on opening night.
What about in-the-moment techniques?
Okay.
Things you can do right then and there when you feel that anxiety rising.
One of the simplest but most effective is breathing.
Breathing.
Yep. Take a few deep, slow breaths.
Okay.
Focus on the inhale and exhale.
That's it?
It might seem too simple,
Yeah.
but it can really help to slow your heart rate and calm your nerves.
It's like hitting the pause button on that inner panic button.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to pause before you speak. If you need a moment to collect your thoughts, take it.
This makes sense.
It's much better to have a short silence
Right.
than to just ramble and not make any sense.
It shows you're thinking things through.
Exactly, that you're not flustered or unsure.
Okay, now let's talk about body language.
Right.
All those nonverbal cues.
It can say a lot about your confidence and engagement.
So what are some tips for projecting that I'm a coding rock star vibe?
Eye contact is key.
Okay.
It shows confidence, interest, and connection. Don't stare intensely,
Okay.
but do try to maintain natural eye contact with the interviewer.
Got it. What about posture?
Try to find a balance between formality and comfort.
Okay.
Sit up straight, but not stiffly.
Mm-hmm.
Lean forward a little to show you're engaged.
Mm-hmm.
But don't invade their personal space.
It's about finding that sweet spot.
Right.
Not too casual, but not too uptight.
And hand gestures can be really helpful, too,
Okay.
to emphasize points or add energy to your explanations.
But too much hand movement can be distracting, right?
Yes, use hand gestures sparingly and with purpose.
Like punctuation marks in a conversation.
I like that.
Okay, what about facial expressions?
A genuine smile can make you seem more approachable,
Right.
but don't force it.
Okay.
Be authentic.
Right.
Let your genuine interest and enthusiasm show through.
If you're excited about a problem or a solution, let it show on your face.
So we've talked about confidence, nerves, and body language.
Yeah. What else?
One thing that's often overlooked is enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah, technical skills are important, of course,
Sure.
but showing real passion for what you do can be really powerful.
It's like the difference between reading a textbook
Okay.
and listening to someone who's truly excited about the subject.
Right. One is just information.
Uh-huh.
The other is inspiring. When you're genuinely enthusiastic about the problem, the solution, the technology,
Mm-hmm.
that energy is contagious.
I get it.
It shows the interviewer you're not just there for a job.
Yeah.
You're there because you want to be part of something you believe in.
So how do we tap into that inner enthusiasm?
Especially when you're faced with a problem that might feel boring or overwhelming.
Right?
Remember why you fell in love with coding in the first place.
Okay.
What excites you about technology?
Mm-mm.
What problems do you want to solve?
Yeah.
What kind of impact do you want to make?
That's powerful.
Let those passions drive your problem-solving process.
It's like finding that spark,
Uh,
the one that ignites the fire.
It's-
Once you connect with that inner drive,
yeah.
the rest will follow. All right, so we've talked about the technical skills,
Right.
how to project confidence, and why clear communication is so important.
Definitely.
But there's one more piece to this whiteboard interview puzzle.
Okay.
It's all about making a genuine connection with your interviewer.
Yeah, that's important.
Think about it. You could have two candidates
Mm-hmm.
with basically the same technical skills,
Right.
but the one who can really build rapport with the interviewer,
Yeah.
who can have a real conversation,
Right.
that's the candidate that's going to stand out.
Exactly.
So how do you create that connection?
Especially in a high-pressure environment like a job interview.
Yeah, it's tough.
Well, first, remember, the interviewer is a person,
Okay.
just like you.
Right.
They're not just there to grill you. We're looking for someone they can see themselves working with.
Makes sense.
Someone who's not just competent,
Uh-huh.
but also a good communicator.
Right.
A good fit for the team.
So don't approach it like an exam.
Exactly.
Think of it as a conversation.
I like that.
Ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Show genuine interest in the company
Right.
and the work they do.
Yeah, if you can find some common ground, like maybe a shared interest in a specific technology or a problem you're both passionate about,
That's a good point.
that can go a long way in building rapport
Right.
and creating a more relaxed vibe.
And don't be afraid to let your personality come through.
Definitely.
If you have a sense of humor,
Okay.
use it appropriately.
Right.
If you're excited about a project you work on,
Mm-hmm.
share that enthusiasm.
Authenticity is key.
Yeah, it's memorable.
It makes you stand out.
Now, what about those moments when you get stuck?
Oh, yeah. It happens.
It happens to everyone.
The worst thing you can do is try to fake it.
Right.
Just be honest,
Okay.
admit that you're stuck,
Uh-huh.
and then explain what you're thinking.
Like, I'm not totally sure the best way to do this, but here's what I've got so far.
That shows self-awareness.
Right.
It shows you're not afraid to say you don't know something.
And it shows you're willing to work together to solve the problem.
Exactly as the interview is wrapping up.
Okay.
Make sure to end strong.
Okay, how do we do that?
Reiterate your interest in the job,
Mm-hmm.
the company.
Right?
Highlight your key skills and experience.
Yeah.
And express your enthusiasm for the opportunity.
It's like your closing argument.
Exactly.
You want to leave them with a compelling reason to choose you.
And don't forget to send a thank you note.
Oh, yeah.
It's a small gesture.
But it's polite.
It shows you appreciate their time.
Right.
And that you're genuinely interested.
So to sum up this whole deep dive, whiteboard interviews are about more than just the code.
It's a combination of things.
You need those technical skills.
Yeah.
Strong communication.
Right.
Confidence.
Definitely.
And the ability to connect with people.
It's about showing the interviewer who you are.
What you can do.
And why you'd be a great addition to their team.
And most importantly, believe in yourself and your potential.
I like that.
Every interview is a chance to learn and grow.
Absolutely.
So go out there, practice, prepare, and rock those interviews.
We believe in you.
Good luck.